It's finally happening. There's something shifting right now that most people can't see yet, but you've already been feeling it. Quietly, beneath the surface of your everyday life, the pieces have been rearranging, and September 16th is the moment when it all comes into focus. This isn't just another date on the calendar. It is a checkpoint written into destiny itself. The truth is, everything you've been walking through, the setbacks, the delays, the nights you almost gave up but didn't, was leading here. September 16th stands as the threshold your spirit has been preparing you for even when your mind couldn't understand why. That restlessness you've been carrying lately isn't random. It's recognition. You've been sensing the alignment before it reveals itself. And tonight, the moon makes it undeniable. So stay with me until the end of this video because the most important guidance is waiting for you there. And right now, I want you to do 3 things to claim your place in this energy. Like this video, subscribe, and type 777 in the comments as your sign of alignment. September 16th does not arrive as an ordinary date. It carries the weight of timing that echoes through both astrology and myth. In the zodiac, the moon passes through Pisces, brushing against a star once honored by seers as a marker of passage, a place where endings dissolve and beginnings gather strength. Saturn's steady hand presses upon this moment, asking for responsibility, while Neptune dissolves illusions that have held their grip for too long. Classical astrologers spoke of such configurations as gateways, not mere transitions, but thresholds where the ordinary gives way to the extraordinary. Think of the Greek image of Hermes guiding travelers at crossroads, or the Vedic stories of lunar stations, where destiny is negotiated. These are not abstractions. They are reminders that certain hours reshape entire narratives. September 16th is one of those hours, a crossroad where choices echo louder, urging you toward clarity and courage. Tonight, the arc of meaning that has been moving through your life narrows into a moment with weight and direction. September 16th sits inside this paragraph because timing matters now, and the calendar point is part of the map. What's happening is not random chance or a dramatic headline. It is a turning that speaks to soul contracts signed long before the first memory. Old agreements are meeting their expiry, and that meeting is carrying clear consequences and openings. Certain relationships, roles, and expectations will reach natural endings that were written into those contracts. Those endings are not punishments. They are the release clauses that free capacity for new work. Karmic threads that have looped for years will either resolve or change form, and that untying clears space for the mission lines to show up more clearly. This is a recalibration at a personal and collective level, a spiritual shift that makes priorities less negotiable. You are not accidentally watching this now. Something in your inner blueprint recognize the timing before the mind did, and your presence here is confirmation. Your soul chose this hour because there is a task only you can carry forward, a calling that needs the version of you sharpened by recent trials. The external changes are the mirror. The real movement is the commitment that deepens inside. Across communities, this period acts like a clearing that raises the level of participation. Collective upgrades are not about sudden miracles, but about many people moving past old loyalties and into aligned action. When enough people complete their contracts, the field shifts, opportunities reconfigure, alliances rearrange, and new portals of service appear. Practical steps will follow later in this video, but the core instruction now is simple. Notice what no longer fits, then step away with intention. Own the narrative that your life is moving toward a mission, not away from comfort. This passage is an initiation, not an interruption, and the work required will ask for clarity, courage, and steady listening to the small, true commands of the heart. Right now, many people are experiencing a tidal rush of emotions that seems outsized for the moment. Emotional overwhelm shows up as sudden waves of grief, anger, or bright sorrow that arrive without obvious cause. And the most important truth is that these surges are processing work, the interior cleaning that precedes clear direction. Flashbacks may surface as replayed scenes from earlier years, scenes that return with new color and meaning. Those returns are not traps. They are messages. The past is handing back lessons in tighter form, so decisions can be made with more accuracy and less guessing. Sensitivity to sound and light can spike, making crowded places feel abrasive, or quick conversations drain energy faster than usual. Rather than a flaw, this heightened reception is a recalibration. The nervous landscape is sharpening filters so attention lands where it matters most. Sleep becomes uneven for many cycles, shifting and leaving gaps where reflection used to sit. Note, avoid overusing remedies that numb. Instead, small intentional pauses will help. When rest fragments, the inner mind is completing loose threads and asking for small acts of clearing. A short walk, a journal line, a deliberate pause between tasks. Memory echoes often carry emotional charge. Not because the old scenes are powerful now, but because they contain keys to decisions that must resolve. When a memory repeats, treat it as an instruction. What part of that story needs rewriting in present terms so the next chapter can move forward? Physical aches or odd body sensations are part of the process for some, signaling that change is arriving in ways the mind doesn't immediately name. Those sensations invite gentler movement and calmer input, less scrolling, fewer fast judgments, more moments of measured attention. A curious widening of perception shows up as clearer intuition or an inner nudge naming what's truthful. That clarity comes when the mental noise thins long enough for deeper instincts to speak, and acting on small confirmations creates momentum toward larger shifts across groups. These experiences are not isolated. Shared activation creates a background field where many are stepping through similar changes at once, and this is why connections feel intense and why old roles are being questioned more often. The moon alignment on September 16th heightens all of this not as a show, but as a catalyst that speeds completion and calls for decisive kindness toward oneself. You are not broken by these movements. They are the engine of maturation. Practical tools will come later in the video, but for now remember, name what comes up without shame. Move slowly when the body asks for it, and keep company with people who reflect steady attention. You are not alone in this passage. Many are moving through parallel turns, and shared clarity will make what follows both kinder and more effective. Inner landscapes have been stirring in ways that are difficult to ignore. Hidden corners of the psyche are no longer content to remain sealed, and what rises may not be comfortable. Yet it carries the markings of truth. September 16th is not only a celestial marker, but also a mirror, drawing buried fears to the surface so they can finally be named and disarmed. The date presses like a cosmic reminder that avoidance is no longer an option. What is carried inside must be addressed. Fears that once appeared conquered may reemerge not as punishment, but as unfinished tasks calling for resolution. Ancient seers described this as the dance of duality. Light cannot expand without an honest meeting with its shadow. The alchemical tradition spoke of blackening before the gold, an initiation stage where impurities rise in order to be transformed. In modern life, that looks like sudden self-doubt, resurfacing guilt or hesitation in places that once felt steady. September 16th sharpens this process by creating a threshold where karmic contracts grow visible. A recurring conflict, a repeated disappointment, a relationship that weighs heavier than it should. These are not random events, but echoes of lessons waiting to be integrated. Release comes through recognition, through owning the truth of what was carried and understanding its purpose in shaping resilience and clarity. To walk through this gateway requires honesty, not avoidance. The shadow is not an enemy, but an archive, storing the fragments of self that were once abandoned. To integrate those fragments is to reclaim energy once spent on suppression. Traditions across cultures pointed toward this truth. Initiation begins with descent. But the descent is not permanent. It is the necessary stage before reemergence. September 16th acts as both compass and catalyst, reminding that what has been denied holds the exact keys for liberation. Each fear acknowledged becomes lighter. Each confession of truth becomes fuel. Each karmic knot untied becomes space for a new chapter. What feels heavy now is the matter that can be alchemized into clarity. Those moving through this passage may notice heightened emotions, confrontations with past mistakes, or sudden realizations of how certain behaviors have kept them bound. Instead of shrinking back, lean in with awareness. This is the laboratory of the spirit where darkness is processed into wisdom. The shadow, when engaged, reveals hidden talents, raw authenticity, and a depth of compassion that cannot be learned through ease alone. September 16th is therefore not a threat but an invitation, a rare alignment that insists on transformation through truth. What emerges from this passage is not the broken remnant of a struggle, but a stronger version of self carrying the alchemy of all that was once denied. The threshold is open. The decision to step through belongs to you. Growth is arriving in forms that demand attention. And September 16th serves as a milestone in this movement. Subtle shifts within consciousness have been gathering momentum, signaling that what was dormant is activating. This is not merely awareness, but a reorganization of energy that recalibrates how interactions, decisions, and opportunities present themselves. It is a turning point where capacity expands and previous limitations begin to dissolve under the weight of clarity. Connections, both visible and unseen, respond to this surge. Relationships and collaborations will feel different, as if the frequency of engagement itself is being tuned. People who once resonated may drift away while new interactions spark with a sharpness that commands attention. These are indicators that vibrational realignment is not theoretical. It manifests in the physical, social, and emotional spheres simultaneously. Thoughts and intentions carry heavier influence. Now, what is projected outward resonates faster, inviting responses that either reinforce growth or highlight areas requiring recalibration. The mind becomes more discerning, and decisions that were once clouded gain unprecedented clarity. In this way, momentum builds naturally, accelerating opportunities for contribution and expansion. Emotional currents also transform during this phase. What was previously confusing or heavy is now illuminated with purpose. Responses that once seemed automatic or reactive begin to clarify themselves into intentional action. This is the energy of awakening. Not forced, not abrupt, but persistent and undeniable. It creates a rhythm where understanding, choice, and timing intersect in ways that feel guided rather than coincidental. September 16th is significant because it marks the visible turning of these energies into tangible outcomes. Goals, intentions, and efforts that have been in incubation now receive feedback from the surrounding field. This is a call to move with precision and awareness, recognizing that the unseen currents behind these movements are as influential as the visible ones. The passage invites courage and forward momentum. What emerges from this period is a version of self that has integrated lessons from prior experiences, shedding outdated approaches and embracing capacity that was previously latent. Each step taken now carries the imprint of intentional growth, a momentum that compounds over days and weeks. This awakening is an initiation into a broader frequency of existence. It is not a promise of ease, but a promise of expansion, a recalibration that brings clarity, access, and readiness. The energy is potent, and those willing to engage with it directly will notice resonance in thought, action, and interaction. September 16th is a marker, but the unfolding continues, shaping what is possible in ways that reward observation, participation, and decisiveness. Ripples of transformation are moving through the collective consciousness in ways that cannot be ignored. The inner expansions experienced individually resonate outward, stirring shifts in connection, understanding, and collective momentum. Each insight, each recalibration, carries weight beyond the personal sphere, affecting relational dynamics, networks, and even the invisible threads that link communities. September 16th marks one of those pivotal thresholds where individual awakenings synchronize with the broader pulse of collective awareness, amplifying resonance across consciousness. Collective recalibration is not uniform. It manifests in bursts of clarity, sudden breakthroughs, and moments of tension that demand discernment. Groups of people may feel drawn to align with causes, ideas, or initiatives that previously would have gone unnoticed. These are not coincidences, but reflections of energetic tuning, a subtle orchestration where thought, intention, and action converge to shape timelines that were once latent. The ripple effect of personal transformation becomes visible in collaborative efforts and the emergence of new cultural and social paradigms. At a deeper level, the unfolding is tied to the planetary field's own expansion. Grids of awareness, long dormant, activate in response to the rising collective resonance. Human attention, intention, and focused engagement serve as conduits, transmitting energy that strengthens coherence and connectivity. Each act of insight, each moment of self-realization contributes to these activations, making the internal shifts measurable on a larger scale. This is why individual awakening is never isolated. It is a node in a network of consciousness, a spark that ignites wider recognition. The spiritual revolution underway cannot be rushed, yet it carries velocity in subtle ways. Conversations once superficial begin to carry depth. Interactions gain clarity, and intuition becomes more than an internal compass. It becomes a shared language of alignment. Those who have cultivated awareness in recent months may notice synchronicities intensifying, as if the environment itself is reflecting collective momentum. These signs point to the merging of individual breakthroughs with broader currents, where timing and intention catalyze systemic realignment. Collective timelines are bending, stretching, and reforming under the pressure of awakened attention. Karmic echoes that have lingered for decades may now resolve as individuals take responsibility for inherited narratives, old loyalties, and relational imbalances. The intensity of these shifts can be disorienting, but they are indicators of the spiritual framework reorienting itself toward higher coherence. Energy previously scattered or misdirected finds new pathways allowing collective intention to manifest in tangible, observable forms. The ripple effect of these changes is measurable not through numbers but through transformation in perception interaction and the general accessibility of awareness. Groups once divided by misunderstanding or inertia begin to align around shared values while new forms of collaboration emerge spontaneously. These are not ordinary social movements but the result of synchronized consciousness and unspoken agreement among awakened nodes to accelerate evolution. September 16th serves as a marker for this surge, a timestamp in the larger unfolding where multiple threads converge simultaneously. Activation of this magnitude also challenges the old frameworks of thought. Beliefs, assumptions, and habitual ways of engaging are tested as the field itself demands higher resonance. Those attuned may experience a kind of acceleration in comprehension, moments of insight that feel instantaneous and clarity that reshapes priorities. These shifts are less about external circumstances and more about internal recalibration, expressing itself outward, manifesting in alignment with wider currents of spiritual evolution. Initiatives that previously struggled to gain traction may now move with ease, supported by the amplified coherence of awakened attention. Individuals become conduits for broader energetic restructuring, demonstrating how conscious intention can influence collective movement. Recognition of this interconnection fosters responsibility, reminding that personal growth is inseparable from the larger unfolding. Every choice, every act of authenticity contributes to an expanding wave of alignment, extending influence far beyond what is immediately visible. Social and cultural landscapes are responding in subtle but profound ways. Ideas that were once marginalized or resisted are gaining acceptance, while collaborations once stagnant are finding momentum. The convergence of individual clarity with collective resonance is revealing hidden potentials, activating networks of creativity, insight, and cooperation. These currents are not bound by borders or conventional limitations. They exist wherever attention, intention, and awareness converge, creating pockets of accelerated evolution. For those sensitive to the pulse of collective change, a sense of urgency may arise. This is not anxiety, but a recognition that consciousness is reaching an inflection point. Decisions made in alignment with insight ripple farther than expected, accelerating outcomes and revealing consequences with unusual clarity. The spiritual revolution underway is cumulative, with each individual contribution serving as both catalyst and amplification. Participation now has disproportionate impact, and moments like September 16th crystallize these effects, leaving marks on both personal and collective timelines that will be felt for months to come. The momentum building across consciousness now reaches layers that were previously dormant. As awareness expands, patterns of group interaction, shared intention, and cultural perception begin to shift in ways that can no longer be ignored. Small acts of clarity spark chains of understanding that ripple outward, touching connections unseen, and activating alignment that had been waiting in the background. The events of September 16th are a focal point in this movement, signaling a surge where the invisible threads of insight gain tangible influence across human networks. Collective resonance manifests in synchronicity. Meetings, discussions, and interactions increasingly carry a subtle vibrancy, as if the atmosphere itself is nudging toward clarity. Ideas once dismissed gain traction, and collaborations that were fragmented now find cohesion. These moments are not coincidental. They are reflections of a field being reorganized by the collective rise in conscious attention. Energy previously scattered or misapplied is now redirected toward outcomes that serve expansion, understanding, and contribution. Karmic layers ripple through the collective field, bringing unfinished business into view. Situations that once repeated without resolution are now presenting opportunities to release, integrate, and evolve. Individuals noticing this may find old relational dynamics resurfacing, yet these interactions are less about conflict and more about activation. Each engagement offers insight, a mirror showing how personal evolution amplifies group coherence. Through this interplay, the field itself begins to embody higher clarity and networks of awareness strengthen. The rise of consciousness is also revealing leadership in unexpected places. People who have held internal insight quietly are now stepping into roles where their influence reaches further than anticipated. Influence is measured less by visibility and more by the subtle effect on collective understanding. One conversation, one alignment of intention can spark a cascade of awareness that accelerates evolution in ways that are exponential. September 16th amplifies these openings, making what was latent suddenly accessible to those who are attentive and engaged. Collective expansion carries with it recalibration of values and priorities. Behaviors that once went unnoticed now demand scrutiny, and shared intentions begin to align around principles that resonate with higher clarity. Communities become experimental laboratories where consciousness interacts with action, revealing pathways that are previously unexplored. Engagement is no longer casual. Attention itself becomes a tool for expansion, shaping outcomes at scales that individual perception often misses. Social consciousness is also undergoing refinement. Cultural narratives, public movements, and shared initiatives are responding to these surges, revealing previously hidden potential. The impact is measurable not through immediate results but through shifts in perception, insight, and understanding. Collective awareness acts like a magnet, drawing like-minded energy together and creating pockets of accelerated growth. Each contribution, no matter how small it appears, feeds into the larger momentum of awakening. Intuition plays an increasingly central role. Individuals sensing these shifts may notice that guidance arrives more clearly, often through unexpected channels, conversations, observations, or sudden comprehension of complex situations. These intuitive nudges are amplified by collective resonance, making discernment sharper and the effect of conscious decisions more immediate. Actions taken in alignment with these signals have disproportionate influence, generating cascading results across multiple layers of shared experience. The spiritual revolution in motion is not abstract. It has tangible implications. Communities begin to reflect internal growth, and networks of collaboration emerge organically where they were previously impossible. Individuals contribute to this transformation by embodying clarity, authenticity, and aligned intention. In doing so, they activate pockets of resonance that ripple outward, shaping environments, conversations, and emerging initiatives. The movement is cumulative. Each person stepping into awareness amplifies the potential of collective evolution. September 16th is a catalyst, but the unfolding continues beyond the date. Those attuned to these currents recognize that engagement now has amplified effect, and actions taken in alignment with insight create momentum that persists long after the immediate moment passes. The interplay between personal clarity and collective resonance becomes increasingly evident, revealing the deep interconnection of conscious evolution. The convergence of individual awakening with collective expansion marks a new chapter in perception. Every insight, every act of alignment, and every conscious decision contributes to the acceleration of consciousness. These waves of transformation are reshaping relational landscapes, cultural dynamics, and the flow of attention itself. Participation now carries impact far beyond the immediate horizon. And the energy being activated on September 16th will echo in both personal and collective fields for months to come. Awareness at this level cultivates both responsibility and possibility. Every choice and alignment reverberates outward, influencing threads of collective evolution in ways that cannot be measured by conventional means. The spiritual revolution underway is both subtle and undeniable, and those who recognize its contours are positioned to navigate its unfolding with clarity, courage, and influence. Each step into awareness not only transforms personal experience, but accelerates the awakening of the field as a whole. This is the moment where personal insight and collective transformation intersect. The ripples created are immediate, tangible, and enduring, demonstrating that individual evolution is inseparable from the wider consciousness. Participation in this current is both invitation and instruction. Presence, clarity, and intentionality are the tools that translate personal breakthroughs into collective advancement. What is rising now is not temporary. It is a long-term expansion of perception, interaction, and influence. Transformation does not wait for consent. It unfolds as a rhythm, a current that carries insight, recalibration, and alignment in ways that cannot be forced. On the 16th of September, the momentum you have cultivated internally begins to echo outward, inviting intentional steps that solidify the subtle expansions already underway. Ancient Hermetic principles teach that understanding the correspondence between inner thought and external circumstance is not theoretical. It is practice. Observing the movements within allows the currents around you to shift naturally, harmonizing with deeper timing. The energy asks for conscious acknowledgement of cycles that have run their course. Rituals, whether simple or elaborate, become instruments for claiming your evolution. Lighting a candle, offering a written intention, or even marking a symbolic gesture in silence is not superstition. It is a commitment to recognize alignment already present. Indigenous teachings emphasize walking lightly yet fully, honoring the current moment while engaging with it deliberately. Each action rooted in intentional awareness becomes a reinforcement of what the soul has already been cultivating, accelerating momentum in ways that external circumstances alone cannot deliver. The threads of transformation stretch beyond conscious planning, connecting insight, action, and resonance into a living tapestry. Repetition and attention strengthens these threads, but repetition alone does not create depth. Each intentional pause, each mindful choice carries weight that compounds over time. Vedic teachings highlight the significance of aligning micro-moments with higher intention. Small, consistent acts of presence ripple into larger fields of influence. On the 16th of September, the subtle orchestration you have been part of reaches a point where clarity and momentum intersect, demanding conscious acknowledgement. Reflection, recorded or meditative, becomes a tool to witness growth without judgment. Observing shifts, noting departures from what no longer serves, and embracing the movement of energy cultivates strength and resilience. Indigenous practices often emphasize returning to elemental connection, walking in rhythm with natural cycles, and honoring the lineage of wisdom carried in the land. Each step toward recognition, each conscious interaction amplifies the larger current, reinforcing the trajectory of transformation. Through commitment to these actions, the internal expansion finds external expression, ensuring that the evolution underway is both grounded and enduring. Energy reaches a turning point where clarity meets purpose. On the 16th of September, the currents of transformation ripple outward, touching those attuned to the shift. This is the moment to anchor intention, to declare alignment with the evolution taking place within and around. Speak a phrase that carries weight for you, a declaration of presence, strength, or awakening, and let it echo in the comments. By doing so, you mark participation in a current that is greater than any one individual, a vibration that stretches beyond personal experience. Sharing this video extends the field of awareness to others, navigating similar transitions. Each person who opens to the message amplifies the momentum, contributing to collective clarity. Tag someone who resonates with this energy, or who might need guidance in embracing their own unfolding. Engagement is not passive. Typing your power phrase, sharing intention, and inviting others into this moment are acts of activation. They signal readiness, alignment, and willingness to engage fully. The work is ongoing, but declaration transforms potential into momentum. This is your signal to step into resonance and participate openly in the evolution that surrounds.